Hello ladies, I'm Mrs. Sherman and I have a homemaking blog. I'd like you to click the link which I will provide in the description box. Go over there and make a comment. I also have my PayPal over there, so if you want to give a couple of dollars, only if you want to, that's fine, and it's very useful to me. But today I want to talk about just briefly, why I don't have comments on the YouTube channel. I don't want to monitor them, and I don't want to see all the flags and the thumbs down and wonder what's the matter with these people. So I think just to keep the aggravation away, cut off all that, let you go over to my blog, participate in what we're doing over there, look at my friends and go and visit them too. The purpose of these videos is to give some kind of support to homemakers who are people that work by themselves, who are home alone most of the time. Even when their children are there, most of the things that they do are their own decisions, and they monitor everything themselves. They don't work in a group. We don't have a group that we work with. We're not a part of any kind of minority. I'm part of a minority because I fancy myself very akin to my Victorian roots, my Victorian grandmothers, and that is a society that has been wiped out. And it was eliminated by the moderns of the 20th century. So I think I'm a minority, and I probably should get something for that. Anyway, that is just tongue-in-cheek, and we all feel we're in a minority when we're home because we function alone. You absolutely cannot keep house, raise children, and conduct the home full-time in a group. It'd be just chaos. And even when someone offers to come and help me, I have several hot spots in my home, a bookshelf that needs to be cleaned out. They can't help me. I'm the one that knows whether to keep that book or not. I'm the one that knows whether or not to put it in a certain place, because in the home we don't put our books in places that the libraries, we don't categorize it the same way, and we have our own systems at home, and so it's a job that we do by ourselves individually, and this is the way people used to be anyway. Not everyone belonged to a group or a corporation. In fact, the Ulster Scots that first came to America in the pioneer days, I believe they came to America around the time of the Plymouth Plantation, and later on in the 1700s they forged west on their own, and they didn't stay around in a group. Many of them just went out by themselves, not dependent on even their own kind of people. So this is the way it is for a homemaker. But these videos are for you to listen to when you have something to do. So please don't sit here and watch me. There isn't anything to watch. I'm just going to talk. And today it was quite a puzzle to decide what in the world I would discuss. But as I was getting dressed, I thought, I remember when back in I believe it was the 1960s, when I don't know who it was. Perhaps it was the designers, perhaps it was the education system was trying to persuade women not to be home and not to wear dresses and not to wear jewelry at home. And one of the things that they said, and you might have heard, you might be old enough to have heard this, maybe not, maybe you could find it said by someone, that the June Cleaver, remember she was on a show, and Donna Reed, they didn't represent, this is what was said. I think it's a terrible lie. They said that Donna Reed and June Cleaver, who portrayed the modern housewife of the 1960s, wearing something like this. This is just some strung beads that a child made for me, and which I prefer. This to me is my signature jewelry for the home. And they said they didn't wear the jewelry, the necklaces, the pearls in their home, that was just all a lie, and that they didn't dress in those dresses, that's not reality. But I don't know how they came to that conclusion, because I remember a great grandmother. My husband remembers his grandmother. He'd never seen her in a pair of pants, and she was a farmer's wife. I mean, she was out there um, taking care of the animals and the crops and anything that needed to be done. And she wore shoes, regular shoes. They weren't dress shoes. They were just regular sturdy shoes that women wore in that time, but they weren't the big clod hoppers they have today that young women walk around in that just don't seem to do anything for you. And I cannot imagine them wanting to dress like that, but they did. They did wear. I mean, they don't want to dress like the moderns, but they did wear the aprons, the the pearls. A lot of them had a little piece of jewelry that their husbands had probably given them, and they wanted to wear it. And I do remember our mothers getting up in the morning and even putting on lipstick if they wore lipstick. But this rumor went around the world and our culture saying that the June Cleavers and the Donna Reeds, they didn't really exist, that they did not portray it. But I don't know how they could have analyzed everybody in the whole world or taken a poll. They sure didn't ask me. So anyway, that's just something that intimidated a lot of young women. Also, from the colleges, we got things like, you have to be more. You can't be just a housewife. Well, there never was such a thing as just a housewife. That rumor was spread that it was just a housewife. And the idea to discourage young women from being a homemaker was to call it just a housewife and portray it as some kind of lazy, good for nothing, non-achievement type of life that would be boring. And so a lot of people fell for that. Of course, they're selling you something, you know. Anytime somebody runs down something else, they're wanting to replace it with something that they stand to gain from. You see what I'm saying? So today I thought I'm going to talk about dressing royally for the home. And by the way, of the videos I've been doing lately for support for homemakers, the living royally at home, the royal aspect has been the most popular. It's been way up there with beyond all the others in numbers of views. So I want to talk about dressing royally at home. Now, I don't know, I haven't studied royalty, and I only know what I have read about and see in the several books that I have. And one thing that I noticed about the way they dress is that it is appropriate for what they're doing. If they're going visiting, if they're going to be visiting somewhere, they will have respectable clothing on that will, see, one thing they have to do is they have to be careful that it's not too low and not too short and that it doesn't fly up in the wind. And some of the younger royals, I think, are learning that because they've had some awful mishaps. But when you lean over and you're shaking hands with someone, you can't have clothing that's too low. And when you, and also they tend to wear clothing that's close to their body so that it doesn't catch on something or fly up, that sort of thing. I would recommend that for the home, to have your neckline high enough that when you lean over to pick up something, it doesn't gape open, and to have your dress not a big full thing that's going to fly all over the place and catch on the furniture as you walk past, and to have it long enough that it doesn't fly up. The longer it is, the less problem that will be. And if you'll notice, a lot of the paintings that from the 1800s that I post, the dresses are very long, even in the wind. If they're going to fly up, they won't reveal too much of your privacy. So I want to start by saying by describing how. Now see, I don't have a script here. I have a few words, but I don't have a script here, and I don't quite know where I'm going to go with this. So if this is not a video that is supportive enough for you, please go somewhere else and find somebody that is saying what you want, and try to be tolerant. You don't have to finish listening to it. So let's go back to how to keep from feeling awkward when you wear a dress. Now, many people have decided they want to wear dresses, and they'll go get the catalogs that I suggested and get one. But then when they go out to their grocery store, to the post office, they say they feel self-conscious, awkward. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to get rid of that feeling. Wear a dress at home all day long, every day, for days and days. You have some different dresses and get used to the feeling. And if you wear them long, you're going to have them around your ankles like you did your pants and your spandex and your shorts. I mean, not your shorts, but your jeans. So, and if you wear them fairly straight, not too much flare at the skirt, fairly straight, they hug your body, and I don't mean to say too tight, but you get the feeling that you had, you know, when you wear jeans, you have a cloth at your ankles. So what's the big deal with wearing a longer dress? It's the same thing. And get used to wearing it at home. If you'll wear it at home, there's a lady that does house cleaning, and someone sent me one of her videos, and it was just delightful. She's young. She doesn't like stress cleaning, and she wears beautiful long dresses and skirts while she's cleaning the bathtub or while she's sweeping the floor. You know, we don't live in industrial homes where we have to have a hard hat on and built up clothing and heavy combat boots. You don't have to do that. So get used to wearing a dress at home. Then when you have to go out suddenly, it feels normal. It feels natural. But don't put on a dress to go out. Put on a dress to stay in. And the other thing is footwear that's lighter in weight. And I have given you pictures of it on my blog, but you can find some shoes that are not Nikes. See, that's another sales promotion, to get everybody wearing these, telling them that they are therapeutic shoes for your feet. And there's nothing more ugly than seeing a woman in a pretty dress walking around in some of these great big shoes. Now for me, I have scrawny feet and ankles, bony, little skinny ankles and stuff, and someone wanted me so bad to have a pair of those shoes that they bought them for me. You know, I could hardly lift my feet. Those things are just too heavy. So wear shoes. Now the other thing is, you're not going to be on your feet all the time. Now these shoes that they wear in the commercial world, they're built for people that have to stand up all the time. You don't have to do that at home. So I've discussed dressing royally, how to keep it appropriate. And for instance, when a royal goes on a kind of a sporting holiday up into the hills or the mountains or the lava, whatever, they're not going to wear their dresses and shoes the same way as they would when they're visiting somewhere in the city. So they will be more sporty. But at home, you've got to decide, is this some kind of a sporting event where you need to wear spandex shorts and a halter top? Or is this an elegant, well-appointed place? Many of you have gorgeous homes, better than I have ever lived in. And I dress up for this little place because this is something that I want to dress. And I'd like you to think about this. I want you to dress the way you want your life to be. I want you to dress the way you want the day to go. Now, it won't always go well, but at least you'll be dressed for it. I always think that's such a standing joke with me, too, is that the water broke today outside, and we had to get somebody in to fix it, and something else happened, and this happened, and the other thing happened, but at least I was dressed for it. So I've discussed the footwear. Try to keep the footwear pretty to go with your clothes, and you can do that. Now the other thing you need to know about wearing a dress is you're going to move differently. You are just going to be a little bit more graceful in a dress than you will be in running clothes. And that being said, is the reason you cannot wear the sports shoes with your dress, because you're going to walk and run in those sports shoes much differently than you would be in a lighter pair, more lightweight pair of shoes to wear with the dress. Now, please note, some of you that have whose comments I don't publish have said, well, I don't mind wearing a long skirt, but I just can't bring myself to wear pumps at home. I never said that. I never ever said that. All the shoes that I have are flat, low-heeled, or and in some way comfortable. And they're pretty. They're not going to be the heavy-duty sports shoes. We are not running away, and they don't have to be the big clunky things that make people think you're going to dig a ditch. We're not going to be doing that. Well, you might, but not necessarily. So, ladies, you will walk different, you will sit different, you will move differently, but you have to have the proper footwear to go with the dress. Otherwise, it's just like being a moose dressed up in silk. If you don't learn to match the footwear with your dress, you're just going to move in a more awkward way. So if you want to not be awkward in a dress, you're going to have to wear it every day. Start out your day with it. And I think your children will love it. Your grandchildren will love it. And they'll be very disappointed if you change back. I found that. So now, dress like you... here's another thing. When you dress well for your home, when you dress royally for your home, and in dressing royally, here's the problem with what people say about wearing something like this, is it's just going to sit there. I don't have anywhere, we don't go anywhere that's high-end enough, so I just wear it at home. I've got, my husband every year for our anniversary has bought me a piece of jewelry that's inexpensive but pretty. He knows I like colors, and so I have quite a collection there, so I'll just start wearing it. Why not? Nobody wants it. Isn't there a book out that says that's the title of it is "Your Kids Don't Want Your Stuff"? You might as well use it. So I'm using it. So dress like you are a refining influence. It will be a refining influence on you. When you start dressing, you will stand differently, you will sit differently, and watch that footwear. Of course, wear footwear that protects your feet and your ankles. And I don't recommend anything lace up. To me, that's just too much trouble, and you need something that either has a zipper on it or Velcro or slip-on, and that will protect your feet from dropping things in the house, because a lot of the accidents that happen in the home. So now I'd like to move on to this is something interesting. It's a story I want to tell you. It's about this family of girls that were in their teens, and their mom was always struggling with, trying to help them to wear dresses and clothes, and they didn't sew, and so they depended on the thrift stores. And as the thrift stores got to where you couldn't find any dresses there either, they decided, this is very, very innovative and brave, these girls who didn't have a self-conscious bone in their body, and they went to the prom dresses, and they bought prom dresses, and they wore denim jeans jackets over them, and so they looked kind of casual and yet elegant at the same time. They just decided, well, we can't find long, and they wanted long dresses, so they bought the prom dresses. And I've heard of people wearing a prom dress to a class after the teacher had suggested that they wear more modest dresses or longer dresses, and just to mock the teacher will show up in a prom dress. But these girls, there were about 4 of them. They were in their teen years, and they went to the Goodwill, the St. Vincent de Paul, and the thrift stores, and they bought up all the colorful prom dresses they could find. Of course, these are made of silk and brocade and different things, different fabrics like that. Aren't very practical, but they did not want to walk around in jeans all the time, so they bought these dresses, and they wore a denim jacket with them to kind of, I guess, tone it down. And it's very trendy looking. They looked really, really nice. So I thought they were quite pioneerish. I thought that was so interesting. It did not bother them at all, the way people looked at them. They were having the time of their life. I just thought that was interesting, and they didn't have to alter them because they were wearing a. Sometimes they would, like in the winter, they would wear a pullover over it, and so they would be more modest. So dress like you want life to be. Dress, here's another thing. If you've got clothing hanging in there in the closet, you're probably never going to go to visit some royalty. So you might as well just create your own royalty here at home. Now in the future, I've got some ideas for videos that I'd like to do, and I just would you please leave a comment and give me a list of subjects. And one of the subjects that I would like to broach is this idea that for the homemaker, somebody comes up to you and says, you are living in a dream world. And I'd like to address that in a future video. It's hard to keep from talking about it now, but it's so interesting that people who think that you are living in a dream world are actually living in a dream world where they insist things are working that haven't worked for a long time, and they're getting nowhere. So also, to cap it off, I'm always asked about this, and this will show up backwards on my old computer. I am getting my computer switched over to another one so it'll work, but someone asked me about this Wet n Wild quad that I use, and there's no color name on it, but it looks like it's kind of a plum. And the Wet n Wild lip gloss, and it's called Cherish, and you can hardly read that, but the number is 5578 or 557B. Can't be sure, but it looks kind of salmon color, and that's what I'm wearing. And this too, and I will show you more as time goes on. I'll show you my collection and what I'm using. So anyway, that's what I do to dress up, to feel good in the home, and you don't have to do it. If you don't like the way I do it, you can always find somebody else that's just like you, and there's so many of them, and you can pester them. So anyway, please leave a comment. That's so important to me. And thank you all for your love, for your prayers, for your contributions, and for your comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye.